everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast for y'all. This week, I went to the movies and I saw Joker, Folie, however you say it. It was funny because I looked for times and I'm like, oh, these are all too early or too late in the day. I need it in the afternoon. What the hell? And I found a showtime nice in the afternoon and I went, oh, but this is like the Lincoln Square IMAX theater. This is going to be really crowded because that always fills up quick because that's the real IMAX theater in the city. But there were tons of seats left because it's tanking and no one likes it and it's losing money hand over fist. So there were plenty of seats available. So I just went ahead and got one and went to see it. And to my surprise, like the movie started and I was like, oh no, the screen isn't clean. Like, what the hell? But then the blotches like went away and shifted or moved, whatever. And then I realized, oh, right. Not only was I seeing it in IMAX, I was seeing it in 70 millimeter IMAX, and I had forgotten what it was like to watch a movie that is projected from an actual physical reel of film. So there were flecks of light, there were scratches, not huge scratches, and there were the occasional dust bunnies floating about on people's faces. It was a little distracting occasionally in the big close-ups, but it was just nice to see something with a little texture and feel to it. It felt real. I just wish it had been a better movie watching it on film. Whatever. Because I was surprised. I also wished that I had sat back a couple of rows because where I was sitting was fine for the movie part, but then for like the musical segments and other scenes, it went like full square floor to ceiling IMAX ratio. And I was like, okay, that's a bit much. So I wish I'd been back just like a couple of rows, and then the IMAX stuff would have been a little less overwhelming. I don't need to see Joaquin Phoenix's head like that big. But it was also interesting because I've read a bunch of articles about it and reviews, and also like people talking about the box office disaster and why it tanked and all this sort of stuff. And one of the articles I remember reading, they said how it's a musical, yet there's a tap dance scene where he doesn't show his feet. And I'm like, what? Yes, he did. There's a whole musical number where Lady Gaga is on the piano and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is tap dancing. And like it's full screen IMAX, head to toe, full length. And you see it all. There's a couple of shots close up of his head, but and also of his feet. But during the full length scenes, it's there. And I'm wondering, do they not show that? Do they crop in on that if you watch this as a regular movie? I don't know. And I'm not going to go and find out, even with my A-list, because I don't care. Because I would not sit through this again. I guess I could go and wait for a couple of musical numbers and then leave. But no, that's not worth my time. Because it wasn't very good. I will admit that it was easier to sit through this than the first one because of the musical numbers. Some of them are really nicely staged and they're quite nice. Basically they start singing in reality and then it goes all IMAX and it becomes a big production number with music and everything. And it's kind of all in his head. But it's still a dirty, grimy, ugly world full of dirty, grimy, ugly people, and you don't really want to spend that much time there, and they're all over 2 hours. It's 2.5 hours, and it's just I don't like these people. I don't care what happens to them. Ugh. So the musical numbers made it a little bit better than the first one, but it's still not anything I'd really want to watch again. I would suggest fast forwarding through to the musical numbers when it's on Max in a few months. The thing that cracked me up, what I enjoyed most about this movie was afterwards, since it was such a long movie, I had to go to the bathroom before I went home. And as I was coming out and washing my hands, I could hear the guys in line waiting for the bathroom, and they were all saying, "Oh, what the hell was that? Oh, what was all that singing? Why did they sing so much?" And I found that very amusing because I'm like, it's a musical. That's the whole point of it. obviously they don't market it as a musical because they never market anything as a musical, not even Wicked, which is literally an adaptation of a Broadway musical. But they refuse to make it seem like it's a musical. So I get it. Maybe you didn't know this was a musical going into it, but you should have, because everybody said it was, but whatever. But it's funny because the musical numbers and like what happens to Arthur in this movie and his relationship with Lee, because, you know, not too much with the comic book references, please. Although Harvey Dent's in it, so whatever. But like, it's just this long slog, and everything that happens to Arthur in this movie, like, and the musical numbers and everything that goes on and the way it ends, which I won't spoil, but it seems like Todd Phillips is saying fuck you to everybody who liked the first Joker, like all the incel chuds who were all like, yes, Joker! And this feels like sort of a fuck you to that. And if he did that on purpose, then bravo, because that's delightful. I don't think he did, because why would you make a multi-million-dollar movie that's basically a fuck you to the audience who's going to go see it? But it kind of is, and for that I sort of applaud it. So yay. But yeah, no, I can't recommend it. As for games, obviously I have continued playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. I was doing a lot of the Star Paths duties, and I got one of them that popped up was another Daisy's Boutique, and I frickin' hate Daisy's Boutique challenges. It's so annoying. It's like, oh, decorate with this, that, and the other thing, and then you have to go and do it, and then she's like, here you go. But what's funny is that I put it off, and I was doing other things, and then another one popped up, and I'm like, ugh, 2 of my 6 Star Path duties are Daisy Boutique challenges. Fuck. So I said, fine, and I said, I'll do it. So I did one, and I didn't notice it the first day, but the second day when I went to do the second one, I didn't just get rid of one of them, I got rid of them both. So that was a fun discovery, that if I had done the first Daisy's Boutique challenge, when the second one came up, I would have had to do 2 more. But because I let them both sit on the grid at the same time, doing 2 got rid of both. Which logically makes sense, but I wouldn't have expected them to do that. So that was delightful. My friend Rob sent me a Reddit post that was like, oh, just get like one of everything and put it on the Daisy's Boutique stage display area, and just put one of everything. And that way, no matter what the challenge is, you're covered. And I'm just like, that's actually very clever, but also a lot of work. So I'm not sure which is less work. I guess if you just keep building as you do challenges, eventually you'll just get to a point where you have a little of everything. I don't like it. The Daisy Boutique challenges are lame, and they do nothing for me, and the reward is useless to me, and I don't care about it. So it's just a waste of time. But thankfully, I was able to get rid of 2 challenges at once. Now remember, but I did play something else besides Disney Dreamlight Valley. As I promised, I did promise at the end of the last episode that I would play something else. And not only did I play something else, I played something entirely new. Yes, I bought another new game. And this one isn't a free PlayStation Plus game. I actually bought it with money. I saw a review of Europa, which, as you might recall from many episodes ago, I played the review on the Switch. I played the demo on the Switch, and I enjoyed it. Which is weird because it's technically a platformer, and I don't like platformers, and I suck at them. And the idea of a chill, relaxing platformer is kind of an oxymoron, but it kind of worked. So, okay. So I read the review, and it was kind of like, it's good, the graphics are nice, the controls are a little janky, it gets kind of frustrating here and there. It's okay, it's good. You know, it's not like, oh my god, it's amazing, but it wasn't like a disaster. So I was like, okay. But I was a little concerned that they were like, oh, but, you know, if you push through it, you can finish it in 3 hours. And I was like, well, that's way too short. But after reading another review that was slightly more positive, it still said, you know, slightly janky controls and occasionally frustrating, but they were a little more positive on their spin. I said, you know what, let me just see what this costs. And to my surprise, it was only $15, which I was like, well, that makes sense if it's a short game. It's only 3 hours. But also, it was on sale, which I thought was odd. But then I remembered that when Little Kitty Big City came out, I went to see how much that was, and it was like $25 or whatever, but it was also like 10% off. And I wonder if this is something Nintendo does. I don't buy a lot of games, so this is only the second time I've noticed it, but it feels like a trend, and maybe it's something that Nintendo does with like indie games, where when they first come out, they throw them on sale for like 10% off, just to get some hype about it. Maybe tempt people, because it tempted me, because I also had some Nintendo points that I could put towards it and save another $1 or so. So in the end, the whole thing, tax included, cost me $13.50 exactly. And I have to say that would be okay for a 3-hour game, except it's not a 3-hour game. Like, I guess if you like rushed through it, you could finish it in 3 hours. But it's such a beautiful, lovely world. Like, you want to take your time and explore and everything. So I, at this point, am like, I looked at a walkthrough to see how many chapters there were. I'm like at the halfway point or just over the halfway point, which is fine. And so far, I have been enjoying it. It is lovely. So far, I've only seen the beautiful grasslands and ruins and such. But I know from reading reviews that there's other environments. I know there's like a snowy environment, and there's some kind of an underwater thing maybe. But so far, it's just been this beautiful grassland. I did have one point where I went like underground, just briefly. That was lovely. The graphics are just beautiful. I mean, it's very like simple cartoony graphics, but like the style of it is just beautiful and lovely and gorgeous and sumptuous, and I love it. It is very Ghibli-esque, which I've read a lot of comparisons. It does feel very Ghibli-esque. There's also like these giant like robot carcasses scattered around, and those are also very Ghibli-esque, very Castle in the Sky. You're basically this little robot boy who is tasked with getting to this floating city on the terraformed moon of Europa. So that's why it looks all beautiful and lush and earthy, because it's been terraformed. And the problem is that the first day that I played it, I had a little trouble downloading it. It paused, and I couldn't seem to unpause the download, so I had to kind of cancel the download and go back into the store and re-download it. And then I left my Switch on and just went over to my PlayStation and played some Disney Dreamlight Valley while it downloaded, because I didn't want to shut it off. I wanted to actually download. I don't know why it wasn't downloading properly. But then I started playing it, and the problem is that it was literally the first couple chapters are just the demo. So I had to like push through the demo so that I could get to some new stuff. But you basically are trying to get to this floating city, and as you go along, you find these diary pages where your father tells you his tale, and the tale of Europa, and, you know, terraforming it, and how they lived on it, and all the stuff that happened. And there's like, it's not subtle, but there's this environmental message that is not subtle, and that's also very Ghibli-esque. And like, I've hit a point where like the story has taken a turn, and I'm like, yep, saw that coming. So I'm pretty sure I know how it's going to end, but we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise me. I don't know. So far, the platforming hasn't been too bad, because you have a jetpack that allows you to like glide and float and stuff. And as you progress through the game, you can float higher and higher and higher. So that gives you extra flying power so that you can get through some of these platforming challenges. Except for when the game basically makes you go through an area of like these purple crystals that suck away your flying power, so that you are kind of forced to do a platforming challenge without being able to fly. That makes it a little more challenging. But so far, like, you can't fail. If you fall even from a great height, you don't die. You're a robot, so you just go, There are obstacles. As you progress, things get a little more challenging, where, you know, the guardians of the planet are trying to stop you, and there's these like turrets that shoot lasers at you. There's, you know, birds that flying things that like knock you out of the sky if you're trying to fly around. And most recently I saw there's these ones that like shoot bombs at you, but you have time to like avoid it. You know, it's not difficult. It's not like boom, it's very slow, so it is still kind of relaxing. And I don't know what happens. I haven't been hit by a laser yet, but the one that really bothers me are these bombs that are just like everywhere, and it's really hard to get around them without getting too close and blowing one up, setting it off. But even when you get blown up by a bomb, you just get knocked aside and you get little stars around your head, and then you're fine. So that helps keep the platforming from getting like super frustrating. There's been some puzzles. It's been like, okay, that's not too hard. It's fine. So far, I'm rather enjoying it. Like I said, I'm only about halfway through. We'll see. I might be able to finish it by next episode. We shall see. So come back and see if I've been able to finish it, or if it got like super crazy hard at the end for some reason, which I'm really hoping it doesn't, because so far I'm rather enjoying it. It's a nice, relaxing kind of platformer, which again, oxymoron, but it's working here. So check out the demo at least. I know I told you back when I played the demo and enjoyed it to check out the demo, but if you haven't, the full game is out now, and it's not expensive, and it's kind of delightful. So check out the demo and see if it's up your alley. And then come back next time and see if I finished it or not. Bye!